Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Killer Collab podcast. Once again, my name is Tone Deaf from Florida, Tony D. As always, I'm joined with Chris Lato from Reaper Films.
Howdy, howdy.
You. And we have a special guest in the studio today. We got Brandon Hyde. Brandon Hyde, how we doing today?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Now, our audience, every time we try to bring somebody into the studio, we like to try to figure out who about the guest, and if they're not familiar with, we have plenty of audio listeners and visual listeners and viewers. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a cinematographer. I've been doing it, 8 to 10 years, kind of professionally. Over the years, I've been pretty lucky to shoot 7 features, including it's not quite out yet, but I've shot for Kevin Smith. His
Big
film.
fan of Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
I'm from Jersey, so
dude's freaking awesome. It's a movie called Kilroy Was Here. The trailer is online.
Kilroy was here.
Kilroy Was Here. So it's a horror anthology that he wrote. That we shot all of it in Sarasota. And then other films. Actually, with Chris, I shot Crazy Lake. 20.
I have yet to see that.
2015, 2016.
I have yet to see that.
Like 5-6 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Chris, you have a copy of that? I still haven't seen that.
There are no copies in existence. We had the worst distribution deal of all time. I got a link. I can send you.
Yeah, I have a copy on a hard drive.
Has
I keep
Brandon
pulling from my
even seen it?
I have seen it.
Oh, he was at the premiere. We had the premiere at Sunscreen Film Festival
Okay.
back in 2000.
Like, I hear so much about this movie. I'm like, where is it?
They're fun movies. All right.
Yeah,
Did you guys shoot the Loch Ness Monster? Like, I can't find it anywhere.
Exactly.
A lot of.
Deal we got.
So there's 2 horror films I've shot. I've shot a piece that was set in 1930s India that I actually shot in Orlando and in Sarasota. That's personally my favorite film I've shot, not really from an editing standpoint, but from a visual standpoint. Like the director, Tony Stopperin, let me do whatever on that film. So if you even watch the trailer, you kind of get a sense of the visual style that I was able to go after. And then I also do, tons of commercials locally. And then personal life, I've been married to my amazing wife for 14 years. We have 2 kids.
Did it make you say amazing wife? Did she say
No,
make sure you
but,
say
like,
amazing wife?
You know when they say like married up, like
Yeah.
that is my situation. My wife's gorgeous. Has just a drive.
So you're saying she was the settler?
Yes, 100%. 100. I mean, look at me. Like, but no, she's just been the biggest supporter of mine from day one, and she's half of the reason. She's bigger than half of the reason that I'm even here, being able to say that I've done these things, is because she's always been able to push me.
That is huge.
Absolutely.
To have a support system.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I basically got divorced because I wanted to make movies. No, seriously. And
My support system is my cat, so I don't
it
know.
was one of those things where we were together 9 years, and she decided, if you want to do this, if you want to take this track in your life, then I don't want to be a part of it. I'm like, well, this is what I want to do. So,
Well, okay, if someone chooses to be like with you and date you, and shouldn't they like understand, like be like
right.
totally supportive?
I think when I first approached her about it, I was like, this is something I've always wanted to do, and I think I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna try to make a movie, and completely supportive. Oh, I think that's a great idea. You should do it. Blah blah blah. And then I don't think she realized what goes into making a movie. Like,
no one does.
It
no one
consumes your
that.
life.
Absolutely.
For the time you're making that film, it consumes you.
Yeah,
Like, all your time, all your energy. That's all you think about. And obviously, I guess she felt neglected, and I think she felt like, well, if this is going to be happening over and over, then I don't want to be a part of it.
Well, look at Hollywood. Like, how many divorces happen? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, people date while they're shooting the movie and didn't get married, and then they shoot another movie and they get divorced. It's like, oh, found someone else. Like, okay.
So that's huge to have that.
It really is, and I think one of the things that her and I have always talked. First of all, we were married before I ever even really decided to do this. So she's seen the growth, she's seen like the sacrifice, she's been there every step of the way. But then also me realizing she has her needs, she has her things that she,
Sure.
you know, and she's a very independent person that
helps.
that can take care of herself when I'm gone because she knows I'm going to be gone. I almost took a job in Chicago that would take me away for 6 weeks, and just a few, like it just kind of came up. Ended up not actually going on the job, but she was like, you know what? It's me and the kids. I'm trying to do this new business, but if you think this is going to, help for the career and help, like she was totally supportive of me going away for those weeks. Even though it didn't work out, she was like, it just tells me every time like she's on board with this kind of crazy dream that I came up with when I was already 22 or 23 years old. I decided I wanted to do this. And
well, you started with weddings, right?
I did. So I went to school at Southeastern University, which is in Lakeland, Florida. And I was there for music, and I met some guys that were doing films, little short films, film program there, and with Dave DeBoard, who is now a friend of mine, and I started helping them, and it was just fun. So I just kind of switched over. Music got very hard, like this started being like oral theory and all this stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, this is."
I don't get music, man.
Yeah.
I love it, but I don't get it.
That was kind of where I found myself. Like, yeah, like I love this, but
Yeah.
it just got honestly, it just got hard, and yeah. And so then I started doing films, but then after I graduated, I didn't know anybody, so we just started borrowing cameras to do weddings. I did my first wedding for like $400, which included editing.
What was the camera you used?
We used a friend of mine. His name is Chris Farrell. We used, I want to say,
Like a T3i or something?
No, it was before that.
Wow.
It was
Was it before the DSLR?
It was like a G100. But then like the next thing, so we borrowed, and then like the next thing that we bought, or the first thing we bought really was a T3i or a T2i at that time. Yeah. And then I bought another one, and then I just kind of built it up from there. But then in 2012 or 2013, I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, and tough, man.
Well, they were tough, but like, so I got decently well known. I was being booked. I shot 50 something weddings in 1 year.
Oh
like,
my god.
Yeah. But what I did was that kind of screwed myself over is I was doing all the editing as well, and I couldn't find anybody that was like with my style.
Yeah.
And so 2012 at the end, or kind of halfway between 2012 when we were already booked out, I got burnt out, and I said I can't do this. So 2013 we only took like 15 or 20 weddings, and then 2014 I only did like 10 or maybe less than that. And then I just started like volunteering to go on shoots, and then like that kind of led to paid work, especially in the camera department, which is where I really wanted to be, because I knew I wanted to be a cinematographer. Even doing before weddings, like that was the goal. That was the thing that I was always going after. And so, then it kind of took off for me from 2013 to 2015. And then that next year was kind of a bad year, just money-wise. And I was offered a full-time job working full-time as an in-house cinematographer and equipment manager for a local production company, Digital Caviar, whose guys I've known for a long time as well. And it was a good fit until the pandemic.
Yeah.
And through those guys, I got to shoot most of the movies that I've shot, because their whole goal is to be doing feature films. So that's how I did Kevin Smith. That's how I did the 1930s India film, and some of the other projects that I've been able to shoot. And then when they had to let me go, lay me off because of the pandemic, I had to kind of do a lot of soul searching, figure out what my next steps were. But I've stuck with it, and my last couple of months, really since December, have actually gained me more money, and I'm enjoying what I do still. I don't do just cinematography anymore. This weekend I was gaffing, and I've also been doing some AC work, to bring in the money. But but I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
It's a tough life.
Yeah. Now from when you started. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's a tough life, and You know, I've been doing it for like 8 years too, and sometimes you're rich one month and poor the next month, and you know it's almost like a sickness though. Like you get so addicted to shooting that you want to shoot everything, and it's hard finding work first of all, and you know, I've had to take shitty jobs that I didn't want to do here and there in between just because I wasn't getting enough work, and then you know all the work will start coming in, and you quit your job, and then you're back to square one. But I'm in a situation now where I've mastered the art of making money without actually doing any work.
Oh man, teach me your ways.
Right? I've been trying to get this handbook for for months now. You know, he's not willing to give up the details.
No, it's fun. I mean, I do resell now. I go to yard sales on Saturdays and find all this crap and sell it online, and it's been doing great. I mean, we made $24,000 our first year doing it, and it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Nice.
And just me and my girlfriend do it, and you know, she's got a full-time job, and you know, I pick up gigs here and there, and I make movies. Like that's what I want to do is make movies. So that's allowing me to have the time to do that, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. But my bills are shit. Like I don't have kids no more. My kids are grown, and I don't really have any. My bills are so small that I'm able to do this and live on what I make.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not rich or anything, but you know, we get to do what I like to do.
Yeah.
We try to be financially responsible. We are like they call debt free. I do owe the mortgage on my house, but everything else is paid off. But then, there's those things of
that's
like
what you got to do to make it, though.
Yeah,
like, you got to live lean.
But then my daughter, you know, my daughter's 7. She wants to join the competitive dance team, which is however much a month, and you're like, okay, well. You want to give your kids those things, but you look at it and you go, all right, I got to pick up another day during the month somehow, and but we just do it. You know, you do what you can for your kids.
Yeah. So of all the movies you've shot, obviously your favorite was probably Kevin Smith, right? Working with him.
I mean, it was everything that you've ever seen from Kevin in terms of his personality, the stuff that he does. Interviewing people and his stage stuff, like that's just Kevin. That's not. It's not an. I mean, I even got to do a personal project for him when he came. His mom lives in Orlando and his brother lives in Orlando, and I went to his brother's house and I just did an interview with him and his brother, and his mom was there, but we didn't interview her. And just seeing him interact with those people, no facade, like it's Kevin.
Right. And I feel like Kevin Smith is us. Like he's the guy.
Oh, 100%.
You know, started making movies because he wanted to, and you know, maxed all his credit cards out to make it happen, and then he just got lucky.
I mean, he'll tell you that he gets lucky. He'll say, and I think he's even said this in interviews, like if he made Clerks now, it wouldn't move the needle at all. But because of when it was made, he saw, I think he talks about seeing Slackers from David Linklater, like as such an inspiration to him. That's how Clerks came about. And then basically one person in the audience, because he only had like 4 or 5.
There was one person at the screening, and he just happened to know Weinstein.
Yep.
And he called him up and said, "Hey, I got a movie you should see." And rest is history.
Like, so how many people does that happen for now?
None.
You know,
like maybe one a year.
Yeah,
at the most.
At the most.
The one guy that comes to mind is the guy that did Lights Out, that James Wan kind of took under his wing. I can't remember his name. He did a short movie called Lights Out, and it's a minute and a half long. And
something like that.
It had like a really cool ending, and James Wan saw it and brought him basically took him under his wing, and now he directed the Lights Out feature, and he's directed a couple other movies, and so
it happens. It's just it's not. There's so much out there now. How do you stand out?
Crazy.
Yeah, there's so much everywhere that you look. There's so many different streaming services now that just like you just find a random movie. But there's a lot of crap on these streaming services.
Oh yeah,
a lot of crap. But they gotta get content somewhere.
So I heard a rumor that Kevin Smith took Brandon Hyde aside and said, I've worked with a lot of Oscar-winning cinematographers, and you're just as good as they are. Is that true?
In the same amount of words, yes. He shot Tusk with James Laxton, who ended up winning best cinematography for the movie was set in Miami. What is the name? It won best picture like 3 or 4 years
Moonlight?
ago. Moonlight. Thank you. And after I finished this movie with Kevin, like, yeah, he basically said, I think he even might have said it on a podcast, that I have the same temperament, I have the same eye, I have the same just persona about me, and the same abilities that someone like Laxton has. I just haven't gotten my break yet, or the recognition yet. So that.
Do you feel like sometimes the area you live in holds you back? Like, do you feel like you would be getting more work in Atlanta or LA?
See, I go back and forth on this like a ton, because part of the reason I've got to do what I've gotten to do is because of the area I live in,
right.
and it is a small network. And I've just been very fortunate. But now that I have, if I went somewhere else, I have to restart the network.
Yeah.
But I can go. I shot
with
for Kevin
Smith. With people that are.
So you're thinking big fish, small pond type of deal?
Yeah. So, and there's kind of a back and forth on that. I mean, as we were just saying, there's so much out there. There's so many cinematographers out there, and a lot of guys are. I mean, they're good. Like, they're really good. So what sets me apart from them, other than I have shot these things? Am I the only person that could have shot these things? There's really only 2 of the movies I shot that I feel like I was the person to shoot that. The other ones, other people could have shot and maybe even have done a better job. It's just I won those jobs.
And what are the 2?
So there's a small movie I did with my buddy Kevin O'Brien. It's called At the End of the Day.
I've seen it.
It's such a personal story, not only to Kevin but to myself, because it was kind of me growing up, in a fairly conservative environment, and then kind of growing outside that and trying to learn my place in all of that. So that's kind of what the movie is about. And then the 1930s film that I shot, called Dropping Unleashed. It's still my favorite project. It just fit my style. Like, if you were to say, Brandon, you can like shoot basically one style over and over again, and that's all you ever get to shoot, that would be like romantic drama, period piece or not, but romantic drama, very dramatic. You get to play with all these colors and shadows and stuff. That's the stuff that I get kind of geeked out and excited about.
Do you feel weird shooting horror movies?
I very much enjoy shooting horror movies. I myself am not actually a big horror fan, which I think in one way makes me kind of a fresh approach to how I approach horror, because I'm not cliched into all the tropes.
Right.
But also, it's just a fun way to shoot things. You want it to be freaking dark, like, cool. I'll make it as dark as you want. You want, a single source room. You want some fun, different, like, kind of cuts that we can play with for the jump scares, and building that tension is something I really enjoy. I don't know if I enjoy as watching it as much once it's done.
All right, what's cool about Brandon is he gets like pretty shots. And when we did Crazy Lake, me and Jason Henney co-directed, and our jobs were he was taking care of all the actors and I was taking care of the camera shots and stuff. And it was like, just let Brandon do his thing, and I really didn't have to do much on that movie. It was almost like I just watch and say, all right, let's move on. Like, that was really all I had to do on that movie, because Brandon I knew he was going to get beautiful stuff, and you just kind of let them go. I think I told him that I wanted one more shot that we didn't get, and he ended up doing it, and that was really all the directing I did for 14 days.
It's like, just go like that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, there was a scene where the girl was rifling through her suitcase to find a knife, and she held the knife up. And I was like, I want a shot, like a front shot of her holding the knife up and looking at it. And he resisted a little bit, but I got my way, and he shot it, and we ended up using it in the movie.
Yeah.
But that was really, I think, the only thing I had to say. I mean, everything else he just covered, and we had a pretty awesome crew, and the lighting was amazing in that movie.
Yeah,
like we got some really badass stuff,
especially it's the nighttime exteriors,
the night style, like the nighttime stuff, and you know, what comes to mind is the opening campground scene with the two people smoking weed and talking. That stuff looked great, and then you know, when Marco was walking out the back, looking with the flashlight down.
That's actually some of that's amazing. in my current reels.
Yeah,
even though it was from so many years ago, I still
just amazing stuff.
Still love it.
But yeah, we had a really good crew, and it was a fun shoot. I mean, we all lived in the cabin for 2 weeks, and I mean, there was like I think 26 of us,
something like that,
and we all fit in the cabin. Like it was crazy, and then one bathroom, so that was cool.
So it was not like the cabin we did for Naked Cannibal.
No, it was a pretty nice cabin. Basically, the cabin looked like someone went into Cracker Barrel and stole everything for sale and put it in this cabin. Like that's exactly what it looked like.
The first time I went there, it was like going through the house, like looking at all the weird trinkets.
There's so many weird things in there.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, it's a country decor. You know, they had a big mouth Billy Bass on the wall and like all these weird little trinkets, and I mean, it looked like a Cracker Barrel. Seriously,
set design was done.
Yeah, we had no set design.
Yeah,
it was already there when we got the place. But
so
it was
like
a fun shoot, man.
So it's like everything you can get from a land sale or a yard sale, pretty much. Like just random trinkets.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool though.
So you felt at home, didn't you?
Yeah, sure. But yeah, it was a fun shoot, and I think it was cool because we could literally just set up the room to shoot, go to bed, wake up, and go downstairs and start shooting. You know, we were able to set up ahead of time, where if you got a bunch of locations, you got to trek everything to the location, set everything up, shoot, and then take it down, and you know,
it takes time.
Where this was just, I mean, we were there. You know, we only had one other location.
Yeah,
which was a little
the first day we shot a couple of like other little spots just to like build up the story, and then we shot some roadside stuff, but then everything else was at the cabin. Which
there was a bed for everybody.
Yeah,
there was a bed. They had pull-out beds. People were pulling beds out of the closets. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
Which for indie filmmaking, like that's what you have to do. I mean, I admire what we did for that reason, because having that many people in a house, especially with someone like me, that I'm a big introvert. I like my space. I like my time.
I would end up sleeping in the tub.
We probably had.
There was somebody in the tub at all times. Like all the males had to pee outside because there was always somebody in the bathroom. Always.
Wow.
So luckily, I didn't live very far away from there, so I was able to go home and shower. And
yeah, but I lived like an hour and a half.
Yeah, everybody.
Where was that?
It was up in Brooksville.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was living in Spring Hill at the time, so it wasn't
it's not
too bad for me. I was able to.
Even where you live now, it's not
home.
that far, isn't it? Like
it's
30, 35,
no, it's about an hour.
Almost an hour?
Yeah.
I never drove it up there. But I didn't think it was that far. Wow.
But it was cool. Yeah, I mean, me and Jason were looking for locations, and I saw this one online, and I showed him, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is like perfect." And then we sent it to Todd, and then we were having trouble booking the place, and then finally, I guess Todd called the owner and booked it, and we ended up shooting there.
Yep.
But it was perfect. It was great.
Yeah. Now, Brandon, from your early days, how do you think your style has changed and evolved from? Like, are you more stylistic, artsy, more gritty? How would you describe your style from beginning to now?
From beginning was, those learning things. Honing the things that you see, trying to replicate things you see, reading a lot, looking online for tutorials. Like that was basically I went to film school, but my cinematography school was a lot of online, American Cinematographers magazine. Just when I decide I'm into a subject, I'm full into it, and I learn everything I can about it. But then I always feel like I kind of get to a point where I need to uh, implement these things that I've seen. So that started. So the whole learning about everything started in like 2008. I'm old.
I graduated college in 2007.
That happened all the way, I want to say, to like 2018. So probably a good decade. And now I feel like, not that I can't grow anymore, but that what I'm going to see online, because a lot of that is geared towards learners and people that are just learning. I feel like I don't feel like I'm a master, but I am a professional. So I feel like, but stylistically, I think my bases are still the same. Chris just said it. My wife says it all the time. Like, you shoot pretty. And it's not a knock towards me, but like there are people that like their styles. They just shoot gritty, or they shoot dark.
Depending on the movie. I mean, there's
Yeah.
different styles for every movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
if you're making a found footage movie, you don't want it to be pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If
But
you're
my
making a
instinct,
grindhouse,
even for something like that, even found footage, is to
Your instinct is to make it look
to make it look pretty. So I do a lot of soft focus, a lot of very soft light. I'm going to throw in a light in the background wherever I can. I'm going to have light streaming through windows with some atmosphere to, kind of brighten it up.
And we did a lot of that on Crazy Lake.
Yeah. And that was kind of, that's part of learning what I like. I have a lot of stuff usually kind of in the foreground to obstruct the frame a little bit so that your eye really focuses kind of where I want it to go.
And it's funny because when you realize that you have a style, you can, I mean, everybody has a style, obviously. And you can like I have my own style, and I see other movies and I'm like, hey, I do that, and I'm sure you see that too, where you're kind of like, wow, I got the similar type of style as this person. The difference is you've had a lot of, you've worked on a lot of bigger budget stuff, obviously. I've always worked on like the $3,000 movie. So it's a challenge when, you have to handheld and pull focus yourself and, light everything yourself, and you don't have a crew to help. Do you feel like the crew helps a lot?
Yeah. It's, most of not all of my movies, but most of my movies have, my gaffer's been Andrew Rotowski, and he and I just think about narrative like very similarly. So I'm just like, Andrew, this is the scene, this is kind of blocking. General, this is kind of where, what I think we should do, and then I just let Andrew and the G&E team just go do that. I used several different operators. I end up operating a lot, which is something I actually don't like doing. I like to be able to be at the monitor and kind of see the overall, but budget wise, even if I am on bigger stuff, like they just a lot of times don't budget for an operator. But those guys are what all the stuff that you were talking about, the pulling the focus, the keeping the camera running, and making sure the cards are like, I don't have to think about that stuff. So my first ACs, my AC, my camera team, even my DIT will come to me and say, hey, this shot that you got is a little overexposed, or it's underexposed. Or like trying to give me a range of where I've been shooting so that I can either A, go back and shoot it, which I hardly ever have time for, but B, I'm not doing that in the future. Because maybe it's a camera I don't know, or maybe I make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. Yeah, so going in the back of my head, like, okay, that shot was overexposed when we were in the bright sunlight. I was shooting at like a 2.8. I probably should have closed down to a 4. So now in the back of my head, that's just something that's back here. So that it's people propping me up, letting me talk to the director to understand what the director's seeing. Because my job is to pull the image out of the director's head and put it on the screen by camera and light. Some directors are really good at communicating that. My buddy Kevin O'Brien, who I shot at the end of the day, I've shot a lot of his stuff, a lot of commercial stuff.
Mhm.
He's so fantastic at communicating exactly what he wants.
Right.
So I very much enjoy that. But then I have other directors that I've worked with that just kind of let me go.
Chris Lato.
That let me go, but there's always that part of
What
me.
do you like better? Do you like
Well,
the director telling you exactly?
I
how
like
he
the
wants it?
collaboration of it, but when I feel like the director isn't giving me a ton of feedback, I'm going, do they just not like what I'm doing? Or is this what they want? Or am I just directing this movie? Like, there's kind of that like insecurity that's built with, which is one reason I think I don't like directing, is because you're looked at for everything.
Right.
And I just want to focus on the visual tone of the film, which is why I think I gravitated towards cinematography. I like the collaborative process of we go through all of our references. We get photographs, paintings, movies, even listen to music. We're sending each other back and forth. We're shooting, what we call pitch decks of this is, these are my references. These are his references. How can we cross-reference them so that when we go to shoot, I've already shown my gaffer, this is the color tone or the light tone that we want.
Right.
That always makes me feel secure in what I'm shooting. Where I don't like is when I just kind of, when either I or the director shows up and is like, here, we're gonna do this thing, and I'm just like, okay, I'm making like and other DPs are totally like to go. They like to walk into a room and create from there. I'm a little bit more planned out.
That's how I am.
And that's
I walk in, kind of look around, see what we got.
Yeah.
Figure out the scene and then do it.
Yeah.
And you don't use like shot list though. Like we didn't use a shot list on Crazy Lake. Do you do
no.
that now, or? I know
I'll do it for commercials and smaller stuff. I generally stay away from it with features because it changes so often
much, right.
that I've spent 5 or 6 days of my life for something the first day that's going to get thrown out the window. Unless it's very specific. Now, like if there's an action sequence or something, I will shot list that together, and then I'll also do, if I can, do some pre-visualization so that my stunt coordinators, if we have any stunts, or if it's anything like that, like editing wise, that sometimes you have to do one thing over here, but then 3 days later do some like one shot over here. At least we know sequence wise that's gonna match up. I did a sequence for a movie called Burning the Dolphin. It's a lower budget, family friendly film, and the big sequence, the thing that kind of the inciting incident that sets the whole story off, I shot over a period of like 2 weeks. So we had our on the water day, which was stunts and boats and all this stuff. Then we had another day that was in the water, which was 2 weeks later, with actual dolphins that were at Marine Land in St. Augustine. And then like 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the movie was shot, I actually had to do a pickup shot in somebody's pool. But because I had already done the sequencing, I knew what I needed. Right. And so when you watch it in the movie, it all happens in 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But you have no idea what I had to do to kind of, get all that together.
Yeah. And I think that's critical for a cinematographer or a director, is to be able to basically edit in your head. To know what coverage you need and what needs to be cut together where. And I think that's a
honestly, Kevin, like, I don't name drop, but like watching Kevin Smith work, because he does all of his editing, taught me so much about that. We would do kind of blocking. They would send them out, and then I would watch him just in his head, just going here, okay, this is what we need. Because he is a director that, at least for that film, I don't know about other films, but for that film, show up on set, let's walk through it, and go. So that was a little stressful for me, because I like to be a little more calculated, but knowing that's the director's style, that's what we went in with. And so learning how to be, one of the things they did on Clerks is they didn't overshoot. one of the things he does that he says on other movies he did overshoot and he hated it.
Right.
Yeah.
So learning how to be minimalistic, but still telling your story, and allowing the actors to play in the space and all that. I learned a lot from Kevin in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched him. I watched one of his. Actually, it was the one where he ended up having the heart attack backstage. It was I think it was Kevin Smith's Silent but Deadly. It's where he's just doing a stand up.
Yeah. It was.
I just watched it like last week, and I forgot where I was going with this. He was saying, shit, what was I gonna say?
Now, when you shoot, is the editor usually on set with you, or are you editing it, or how does it?
No, I don't do any editing personally. I'll help do smaller stuff here and there, especially if they're like something you can turn around in a day.
Yeah. Well, I was curious about if you are shooting in like raw, like you have a LUT in mind, like do you have like
usually I have
color grading?
Yeah. So
that you'd have to give to the editor. Or have the editor give input. That's why I was curious if they would.
It's kind of a process that I have found has been different for every movie. Like the Bernie the Dolphin, we did a 1 and 2. I didn't have a LUT for that. What I showed on the monitor. I shot that on the Red Geminis. So I shot those, just R3D file, which is their raw file. But what I was putting out to the monitor was basically a 709, just a basic color correction, and then it got sent to New York, and I was working with the colors there to, pull and push blues here, pull back the reds here, blah blah blah, massaging it until we found a look, and then letting the colorist go full bore with that, and then I would give like little notes like, oh, this is too green. With Kevin Smith's film, I wanted to give him an idea of exactly what we were shooting, so I had a LUT that was already built into the cameras, so when it got sent out to the monitors, you were seeing, we always did tweaks, but we were seeing exactly what I was hoping would end up being the final product. When I'm shooting those movies, that's just a reference, because it's all coming out super flat anyways. It doesn't really matter what camera I'm shooting unless it's a DSLR. I'm going to do it in a flat profile so that we do at least have some latitude to, what if I picked a LUT and then we decided, what, that doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Because now we put it together and it just doesn't work.
Well, to the basic viewer, like they don't understand like how difficult it is just to put this together. But when you see a LUT or they don't understand what the LUT is and how it actually changes the story. Like it changes the entire tone of the story. It changes how you're looking at the story. It changes even the colors of the leaves, the sunlight. Like they don't realize how much they're being manipulated through just the colors within the scene.
The movie that really opened my eyes before I even knew anything about filmmaking, but to use of color was The Matrix, which ended up being my favorite film of all time. Just the first one. The other ones don't exist. But seeing how they used blues and greens to tell where you were, and and then Inception even took it further, which is my second favorite film of all time. How they used warm tones and cool tones and white for, I think it was level 3, like how they're not only telling you something, but they're also showing you emotionally where these characters are. Those movies are a little bit more complicated, but it was the first time I started noticing it. And now when you see stuff, Zack Snyder has his very washed out, kind of bland look, which I personally am not a fan of.
And slow motion everywhere.
Oh my god,
everywhere.
Justice League, the release cut could have been like 2.5 hours.
With all the slow motion.
But that's his look, and that's what he goes for. And then there's other films that I think kind of miss the boat sometimes with their coloring, but then like M. Night Shyamalan, like say what you will after a couple of movies, but The Village is such. It's almost a masterclass in color. And then you look and you see that Roger Deakins shot it, and who is god among gods in cinematography, and you go like, oh, okay, of course. But the use of color is so big, and it's such an understated part. Hopefully, it's understated that people don't recognize.
Well, they don't realize that art. Like they think just the director that's just shooting through the camera. They don't realize there's a different LUT. They don't know like the different stages of LUT.
Yeah.
They don't know well, like I said, they don't know what it's doing to them. Like you put James Gunn, for example.
Mhm.
Like he shot the second Scooby Doo, like the second Scooby Doo movie. like you look at that, and then you look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
I like the second Scooby Doo.
No, I do too. Oh, I do
first
too.
one was really bad, but the second one was like, hey, this is Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The first one you were just kind of like,
Yeah, what? I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know. I honestly don't know if I saw the second one because the first one
The
I was
second
like,
one was actually good. I had all the monsters
Yeah,
from
it
all
was-
the movies.
yeah, I think it was
from
the
all the shows.
yeah.
And, it was awesome.
What was it called? Monsters Unleashed or something like that?
Yeah, Monsters Unleashed.
you know what? I think I did see like one time, but yeah.
And the first one took place on like a tropical island.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
But then that one had Scrappy Doo, like a character that no one
Oh,
wanted.
yeah.
Ever. It's like, oh yeah, thanks for bringing back the character that no one
That
liked.
everybody hated for forever.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's bring him back into the movie that we've been waiting for.
and someone like James Gunn, like I'm sure those were shot by different people. Guardians of the Galaxy and Scooby Doo were probably, I would assume, were shot by different people, and so the director and the DP slash cinematographer, director of photography, DP, cinematographer, all interchangeable. In case nobody really understands what I'm saying, that's such a unique relationship that you can't define. Yeah. I've worked with directors that I just can't connect with, but then I just worked with a guy this weekend. I was actually gaffing for him, and he was DPing. We just had an instant communication of like I knew what he wanted before he really knew, and like to have that communication between the DP and the director, or even the DP and the gaffer, is you can't honestly in your movie, if you're making a movie, you can't put a price on that. So my gaffer is Andrew Ortowski, who's brilliant. He understands light. I'm hesitant to do a movie without him because I don't know if I'm going to find somebody that I can communicate what I need as well as I can to him. We all know filmmaking is about relationships, and finding those people that you work well with is it's almost priceless.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, when you find somebody, like Chris and I have been talking many weeks, like when you find a small crew that you can work with and rely on, and like you have an understanding and your work habit, your work ethics, and it's very key, and especially in this like the smaller micro budgets where money, like time is money. So basically, when you have that crew and it's able to produce a lot more in a shorter period of time, and it helps like move things along a lot quicker.
And that's awesome when you click with somebody and you know you have the same thought process and you understand each other, and it's hard to find that.
Yeah.
Me and Sean have been doing stuff since I first started in 2010, and obviously our movies aren't for everybody. Which
to say
what
the least.
movie is really? I mean, you're not going to make a movie to appeal to everybody. I mean, everybody's got their niche.
I don't even like every movie I've made.
Yeah, exactly. Me either. Actually, I hate all the movies I've made. But we know that, like, me and him just made a feature film called Zeds Dead, and it's a spinoff of Pulp Fiction, The Pawn Shop Owners. And we made a feature film for $1,100. $1,100. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And we're already it's already profitable. We haven't even released it yet. It's already profitable. And we shot the movie over, I think, 5 days. So we shot a feature film in 5 days for $1,100. Like, not many people can do that.
Nope.
And we've got this formula now where, I shoot and edit, he directs, and we both kind of write together. And we just make all this stuff. And people, we got a niche audience of people liking it. We sold, I think, over like 100 DVDs on the Indiegogo, and it's cool when you can collaborate with somebody like that and just make stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what it is, I love making it.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
Oh yeah.
part of the reason I'm in this industry is just because of the people that I found in film, the people who thought like I did.
right.
And the not only just like do we like movies, but like we just talk about like whatever crap we want to, and that's just a continual flow. Like this is being brutally honest. Like I don't find that with everybody. Like I have a hard
Oh,
time
absolutely.
communicating with people because I'm in my head a lot. My wife, like I do fantasy football a lot. I play a lot of video games. I watch a lot of movies, and I make movies. And my wife is like, "Why don't you like? What's wrong with you that you don't like to connect to real life? Because everything you do is like a
I'm the
fantasy."
same. Like, except for the video games, I'm always watching movies, making movies, and now I do the yard sale thing. But that's cool though, because that's something me and my girlfriend do together.
Yeah.
And we hit the yard sales every Saturday, and we list everything, and we pack the stuff up together and ship it out. And it's something that we kind of connected on.
Yeah.
And that we do together.
Yeah, and so
I understand where you're coming from. We found some. common ground,
something.
right?
I mean, so when I went away to LA, I went away for 6 months to finish up school, and when I came back, my wife and I were kind of at this weird. I don't want to say an impasse, but like this weird, like I had gone and experienced something that had kind of changed me because I really, really found myself when I was in LA. And then I came back, and A, that environment was gone for me, and B, I had already experienced this thing. She was trying to learn who I was. And we had never really watched TV together, but we started watching Lost together, and it gave us a common thing.
That's huge.
And we just burned through it. It gave us something to kind of connect to and talk about. And like, I don't say that Lost saved my marriage, but it helped my marriage. And
But
that was 10 years ago.
When Lost is over, you're like,
well,
right,
yeah.
now what?
Yeah. So we went on and found other shows. We've watched Scrubs together, which
Very
both of
nice.
us love. We watched West Wing. Recently, it's been Schitt's Creek, which
I
is
love Schitt's Creek.
oh my
That's such
gosh.
a funny show. It took me
love that show.
like I'd say like 3 episodes to kind of like get it. I guess
Mhm.
like the first episode, I was kind of like, I don't see the hype. Like I don't understand.
Yeah.
But then after the 3rd episode, I was like, all right. I
So
get it.
for me, like
This
I
is hilarious.
love. I've seen all of it, like basically 3.5 times. The first time watching it, loved it. Second time, season 1 and 2, I was like, there's just something I'm not sure. And then when they introduced Patrick
Right.
to the mix, which is sometime early season 3, that's to me when the show
Yeah, I
flourishes
agree.
and becomes its own. And I've said for a long time, like my favorite TV comedy has been Arrested Development, but Schitt's Creek is pushing that very hard.
Yeah, I have yet to see
I
that.
love the sister. Like she's. I love. To me, I'm really into like teen dramas, comedies, horror, like
Mhm.
teen stuff, like high school stuff. I really like 13 Reasons Why, Bring It On, like Mean Girls, like crap like that. I love it. I don't know why I like it, but I
You
do.
like it? It's fine.
And they always have that, like the way she talked and carried herself and stuff. Like it just appealed to me. Like I thought it was so funny, and
Yeah. See, for me, it's
she was, like,
David.
super cute. You know,
Just-
like it was just a funny show.
I think I give up on shows too soon. You
Yeah,
know what I
I
mean?
think so.
Yeah, like I'll watch 1 or 2 episodes. Like, yeah, I'm just not
Like,
feeling it.
yeah, I will give a show just as long. So you can be mad at me for this or not, but I watched 2 full seasons of Breaking Bad, and I was just like,
Just couldn't get into it.
I don't get it.
I can see that.
See, I don't like Breaking Bad.
Like the later episodes got more intense. Yeah, you don't. Tony don't like Tarantino, so
Yeah, I don't. Tarantino,
you don't like
man.
Tarantino either.
Yes!
We could go on like a 30-minute.
Oh, shit.
But with Breaking Bad, I liked his. I can't think of his name. But I liked
Walter
him.
White.
I'm sorry.
Walter White,
Okay.
Yeah.
Eisenberg.
I like him. Like I like the range he has, but I just don't like. I just couldn't. The story, I just couldn't. Just
So
connect with. I was
I've
like,
done a lot
So
of.
you never finished it? You
I
just
never finished
watched two
it. I
seasons?
watched like 2 and then like into season 3, and I was just like, eh. And for me, and this is all me, which is maybe one reason I don't really care for Tarantino and a couple other like Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. A lot of people like that movie. I don't really care for movies that have a character go from being a good character to bad with no real redemption. I'm sure in Breaking Bad towards the end there is, but all I ever saw and like in Nightcrawler that really sticks out, which is where I kind of started recognizing this about myself, was all it was just a slide into madness without like any redeeming factor to that character. I need to have somebody to root for.
Right.
I need, and that might be a cliche version because, like, you know, nowadays in storytelling in movies, you just have like, you know, almost like slice of life things that happen to good people or you see bad people or whatever. I like to have, you know, the very like
You like
3-act
rooting for the
structure.
good guy.
Yeah, I do.
You know, there's a lot of movies and shows lately that I'm rooting for the bad people, and I'm kind of like, I take a step back and I'm like, these are horrible people. And I'm like, I want them to win. Like, it's such a weird dynamic.
It gives you the aspect of like professional wrestling. You know how they do the face turns and heels. Like it's almost exactly like that. Like Hulk Hogan went bad.
Right.
Like when he went bad, people were like, no.
And what's funny
it's the
is,
same thing with movies.
and I know why that happened. I made a movie called Rough Cut with Jeremy Westrate back in 2012, I think. We made this movie, and we had no budget, like we had no money. And the movie was about a guy that's a filmmaker, and he loses his budget to the investors. They take it away from him, and he's so obsessed to make the movie that he starts abducting random people, torturing them, killing them, and filming it to make a movie. And throughout the movie, you find you're rooting for him. I mean, his wife's a bitch. Tanya Christensen was his wife, and she's just so nasty to him. And you start rooting for him because he's the main character of the movie. Even though he's doing all this horrible things to people, you know him. Like, you're getting to know him because he's on screen. And everybody else in the movie, other than Tanya, was a random. We didn't even give them a name. Like, we just
no
gave
character
them,
development.
Yeah, they were just body count. Like, that's all they were.
Well,
and you're rooting for the bad person because that's all you know in the movie. Like, there's nobody else to root for, really.
See, and for me, I haven't seen that film, but if there seemed to be a glimmer of hope of redemption or of turning the corner,
Right.
then I could be behind that. But if he just stays that way,
Yeah, but he was just an insane person.
Yes.
And at the end of the movie, he gets his movie in a film festival. Like, that's the redeeming thing about it. And it's just so weird that you're rooting for this guy, and he's just, he's torturing people and
like a sick.
cutting heads off and like doing all this weird crap to people. And it's just a weird dynamic when you realize you're rooting for bad people.
Well, it's just like Saul. Saul's pretty much the same. There's no character development, but then you're like Jigsaw. You're like, okay, he's a sick guy. He's trying to have people have like, redeeming qualities for people. He's trying to give them a reason.
imparting a lesson.
Yeah, exactly. like I said, there's no character development. You just know that these people did shitty shit.
Right.
And then ultimately he's just trying to teach them a lesson and show them what life's worth living and whatnot. And he's just, like I said, but they have no character development. I don't care if they die or not. Like, oh, he took someone's purse. Now he's dying. Like, what is going on?
Same thing with. Have you seen Den of Thieves?
Who's in that?
Gerard Butler, 50 Cent's in it.
Okay, yeah.
They rob they rob banks and stuff. Again, that's another movie where I was literally rooting for the bank robbers, but they made the cops and the cops were
terrible.
dicks. Like, they were terrible people, and you found yourself rooting for the bad people in that movie, and I really like that.
It's an interesting psychological.
It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
It's weird what happens in your brain when you're watching something.
Well, look what Fast and Furious started. They were all bad guys.
Yeah, same thing.
now they're good guys.
Now they're family.
Yeah. Yeah, and then now they're like helping the cops and Interpol and all that.
I
stuff.
randomly see those movies. Like I've seen probably like 1, 3, 6, and
Bro, like, I've seen
whatever,
all-
and
What is
like
this?
I'm just like, oh, I know exactly where we are. Like,
they're mindless entertainment that don't take themselves too
Yeah, just,
seriously.
they just like to blow
And the
shit up.
And it's like each movie, the stunts get like crazier and crazier and crazier.
They
And
just
you're
defy
like,
science.
What the hell are they going to come up with this time? Oh, they're jumping from one building to another building in India.
yeah, I
Yeah.
saw.
And
I
now
saw
they're
that
going
one.
in space. Now they're going in
And now they're going to
space.
space. I think my favorite stunt of those was they drove off a cliff, and the car's going down
And they jump.
into the water, and then like the last second they jump.
And they're okay.
They jump up from the car, and they're okay.
I don't know. I think it's 5.
But that's got to be fun, like coming up with, like,
Just like-
what can we do now to
Yeah.
up the ante?
What would people possibly believe could happen? Like, we don't want anyone to really do this, but let's just jump from a flying car.
movies?
The one I don't even remember which one it was, but when there's 2 cars and they're playing a game of chicken, but neither one of them pulls off, and they do a head-on
Yeah.
crash, and they both just walk away. I'm like,
All right.
my God.
They'll probably go like 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, and one of them doesn't have airbags. Like that's when Vin Diesel's character and Jason Statham's character do that crash.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, they got a little crazy.
Well-
but you know what? 9's gonna come out. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go see it.
I'm gonna see it
and,
too.
I'll probably
I'll
enjoy it.
watch it at some point, like 10 years down the road, and be like, I don't really know what's going on.
Actually, I remember when I saw the very first one. My friend Chuck had got free tickets or something. We went and saw it, and we left the theater like I didn't even know what it was. When we went and saw it, and I was like, that was actually a fun movie. Like,
Yeah, the first one.
it was fun.
Yeah.
man. And what was cool is they dove into
It was a subculture.
that culture,
Yeah.
and you got to see what really, I don't know if it's what really goes on, but that kind of scene. And
I mean, it's over dramatized, of course, but
And all the cars
it's
were
the car.
cool
The car scene is very big. Like, in Philadelphia and Jersey, like there's always car shows, and it's generally like that. Like, you got the souped up Hondas or Supras and all that. It's a real culture that people like. There's car clubs, just like there's biker clubs. It's basically the same thing, just
Right.
different, different groups of people. Like it's, I don't know. I think it did open up that a little bit, and then you see car shows everywhere. Like that's
Right.
when a lot of people started to look at I forgot what auction it is, but I've seen more ratings on that than a lot of different things because of those movies.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gone in 60 Seconds. When Gone in 60 Seconds, everyone wanted the Shelby GT 500.
Eleanor.
Yeah, everyone wanted that car. Now that car shot up to like $100,000 to sell when it was just like for $10,000 sitting, nice and shiny. You could buy it for $10,000. Now it's $100,000. Like,
So you can imagine what Fast and Furious was like for me. I grew up basically on a farm, a small farm. Like at one point it was 15, now it's 5. In Tennessee, pretty conservative area. Cars weren't like a big thing. Like my dad's a mechanic, but it's more
tractors.
yeah, tractors. My dad's worked in the trucking industry for decades. And so like to see something like that, this whole other culture that exists, around the world, but really in like LA, which I believe is where the first one was set. Like my mind was was kind of blown about something like that could exist, and I think that's something that's has always attracted me to movies. Is like you get to see stuff you just never thought you could get to see, or you didn't know existed, or any of that. I love space movies, like sci-fi movies, even the hardcore ones like Ad Astra, and some of the ones that Netflix has put out a couple that are all like very like space oriented, and I'm
So
just
you're gonna love Fast and
sucker.
Furious in space.
did you like Leprechaun in Space? Did you like that one? Jason X, we talk about Jason X. Like, I think there's only a
man.
couple redeemable qualities for that movie.
Yeah, it still has one of the best kills ever.
Yeah. I like what they did with that. It's fun. Like I told you, it was in the video game now too, right?
Yeah.
It's so
When
funny.
it puts her face in the, it's what is it?
Liquid nitrogen?
Liquid nitrogen, and smashes it.
Yeah. Like, and her face just shatters. It's wonderful. The thoughts that people come up with to do some of these kills. It's
Yeah,
so much
you have to
fun.
wonder, like, oh god.
Well, that's what me and Sean talk on the phone, and we're just like, all right, how can we kill people? And we just come up with all these weird things and try it. It's funny. But it's funny. During the pandemic, I know you said you had a rough year. We were sitting there talking, and he left his job, and I wasn't working, and we were just talking one day, and he was like, "Man, we should make a movie called Naked Cannibal Campers." And I'm like, all right. He's like, yeah, we'll make it about like naked cannibals, these girls, and they're like witches or something. So we hung up the phone, and 90 days later we had a Blu-ray in our hand.
Wow.
Like, that's amazing. And now we got a comic book coming out. Actually, it's going to print today. The comic book. And we're working on a sequel. We're gonna probably shoot that in like December. So you got any stuff coming up that you're shooting, or any features?
I don't have any features in the pipeline, not for lack of not wanting to do one. It's just not, just hasn't kind of panned out.
I'm doing more like commercial work.
I'm doing a ton of commercial work. Friday, Saturday, Sunday this past week, I was on commercials, and then I'm doing. I don't actually have anything this week, but then next week is 5 days, 2 days commercial, 2 days or 3 days. I'm just doing some grip stuff on our narrative project. But I'm trying to make those things happen. I was in line to do a feature, but then it flipped to union, and I'm not union, so I might just end up camera operating on that. That's going to be shot here locally. I'm always trying to. My main priority is always my family.
So that you can't work on a union movie?
Not as a DP.
Really?
Yeah. Because I am non-union, and I don't know all the rules, but also the money behind it wanted somebody who was union and a little bit more established. So the guy that they're bringing in, last I knew, I don't know if he signed the contract, but last I knew, it's somebody that's been in the industry for 40 years type of deal. Somebody I just can't even.
Roger Deakins.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'd be like, I will come do whatever for free. But my main priority right now is my wife and my kids. Make sure that they feel taken care of. And my wife is doing her own venture now that started in March. So I'm the breadwinner. So I'm kind of taking a little bit different approach, where I'm literally just taking whatever job on set that I'm qualified for that will pay me. But the goal is, and always has been for the last 12 years, 13 years, has been to make features as a DP. That is what I live for. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Just basically waiting on the next one to roll around.
Every once in a while we talk about what's coming out. What movie are you looking forward to seeing coming up this year?
I know what it is, Candyman.
Yeah, of course. So my viewing habits have changed to more television.
I know, me too. Like I seem to like I'm watching more series than movies lately.
So I see a trailer for a movie and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But then like I see like something like, okay, one of my favorite shows right now is Peaky Blinders. I know that just 3 days ago they wrapped the final season 6. I am so excited, and that's like 6 months from now or however long that show's going to come out. But I'm probably more excited for that than I am any particular movie that's coming out, at least off the top of my head. I get very excited for new seasons of shows. I just finished Jupiter's Legacy. I'm very excited for the next season, Umbrella Academy. I freaking love that show. I can't wait.
Chris hates it.
I couldn't get into it.
I don't like. I think he gave up.
I watched the first season, and it was like agony to me to finish it.
I told him to watch season 2. I told him to watch season 2.
Season 2 is better.
Yeah,
I was.
A lot of people say that.
I enjoyed season 2.
It's gonna take a lot for me to push play on episode 1, season 2. It just didn't resonate with me. I don't know. I just didn't get it. I didn't like it.
But
I didn't
mean,
like the characters. I thought the plot was. I thought the story was slow as hell, and it was just like.
See, I like slow developing stuff. Like that's
part of. I don't mind that. Like I'll watch a slow burn. You know, I don't mind that. Like Fargo is one of my favorite shows, and all those shows are super slow, but I love them. Like they're probably my top 5 favorite shows of all time. You know, we just finished watching Dexter because they got another season coming up, so I revisited all those, and we just finished it a couple weeks ago. So I'm excited to see that the new season, to see kind of what they come up with after the horrible ending.
I never saw the show, but I heard that season 6, basically the last one, was
the last
just
season
awful.
Was just so bad.
Was
and I'm
like
just
rushed?
like, I was mad at the end of that show. At the end of the last show, I was so mad. I'm like, I spent 6 years of my life watching this show, and that's how you end it? Like, what?
It brings back memories of Lost.
So I'm interested to see what they come up with for the next season. I mean, it's been 10 years.
It's been a long time.
It's been like 10 years since that show went off the air.
I wonder how they're going to fill in that gap.
But I'm excited about there's a ton of horror movies coming up soon, and they all look really good. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Definitely
Don't Breathe 2.
The Halloween.
There's a movie called Werewolves Within that's got the AT&T girl.
I think she's hot.
Weintraub.
I think she's hot. She's like, I don't know why. Some people think I'm crazy for saying it, but no.
But it's funny because when I saw the trailer, I'm like, yeah, it's the same girl from the AT&T. Like she's got the same like demeanor about her, and like the way she does her little one-liners and stuff. Like it's a werewolf movie that's kind of a comedy, like a dark comedy. That looks awesome. Then you got Candyman, and what else is coming out?
See, I don't even know what else is coming out.
One Night in Soho. That movie looks crazy. It's got Anya Taylor-Joy in it, which she's kind of popping up and everything now.
She was in Peaky Blinders. That's the first time I saw her.
Yeah. And did you watch Queen's Gambit?
I tried.
Really? You didn't like it?
It's super weird. Like everybody like in cyber world was like all crazy about it, and I love chess. And I watched like the first like 4 or 5 episodes, and I was like, I don't care. Like I literally like if someone was like, "Don't ever watch an episode again," I'd be like, okay. Not that anybody would ever do that, but yeah, I don't know. It's again, I've been watching just so much TV that like I just felt like, okay, I don't really like. I kind of see where this is kind of going, anyways, and I don't really care. So I'm just gonna go.
I hate when movies or TV shows get so predictable it's ridiculous. Like, we talk about a couple of movies. I'm like, yeah, I knew where it was going to go. I just didn't want it to go there. I just really hope it went somewhere else.
I mean, it takes a lot for a show or a movie to catch me, like, kind of sleeping on it. But, there is a formula to storytelling. We all know that. Yeah. But when you don't try to subvert that at all, which, again, I haven't seen all of Queen's Gambit, so they might. But I kind of could just kind of guess every next step that that's not interesting to me.
Do you watch any like network shows?
Most of my stuff is original, like Amazon or Netflix or.
One of the best shows on TV right now is Good Girls.
Huh.
That show is freaking awesome. I love it.
I don't even know.
What channel is that on?
It's on. I don't know if it's
because I watch a lot of CW.
NBC, I think. I think it's on NBC.
NBC.
I think they just finished the 3rd season like last week.
Yeah, I'm still watching the DC shows.
I saw the trailer for it. I read a write up about it or something. I just started watching it, and it's awesome. Like it's so funny, and it's really really a good show.
Yeah, speaking of superhero stuff, like. I am such a sucker for it. Yeah, I try not to because, like, I'm a serious filmmaker, blah, blah, blah.
What do you think of WandaVision?
I love...
I think you're kind of young. How old are you?
I'm 36.
36.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, see, I grew up on, like, Dick Van Dyke and Bewitched and all that shit. So when they were doing all the TV
older
show stuff, like, I could pick off the set. Yeah. Like, right when I saw the set, I was like, oh, that's Dick Van Dyke or that's Bewitched. And I really... like that part of it. Like it took me back. And then the middle got a little odd, and then the last 3 episodes I thought were fantastic.
My thought was I really liked what they were doing with. I didn't know where they were going, but like I also grew up like watching more Andy Griffith show. Like we had 3 channels growing up on the farm, so like I didn't have a whole lot of reference, but I had seen enough. And I was like, this is interesting. This is kind of cool. I don't really care about Wanda. I don't really care about Vision, but like, okay, what the hell's happening? And then they had the reveal at the end of, I want to say, episode 4 or mid-episode, and I was like, cool, this is great. And then they delved more into that world, and I was like, that's not interesting. That's superhero, but base superhero stuff. Like, what you were doing was interesting.
Right.
They kind of brought it back around to the end, and like the whole Agatha twist, I was like, I didn't see that one coming. That's awesome. Like great job. So it kind of, like, it started... And then it just like slowly, but like there are aspects like when Vision's talking with White Vision, like that whole scene.
Yeah, it was
cool. I've gone back and watched it a couple of times because I loved it. But then like a few weeks later, we get the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and like they just weren't trying to be anything but a superhero story. And I was like, I'm in. Like let's go.
It was just violence and violence.
Yeah,
I was surprised how dark it was, man. Like,
yeah.
When he killed that guy with the shield in the street, I was like, was this Marvel? Like, what is happening?
Did you see how much blood was on that?
Yeah,
and they colored it to a way where it was
really
just like
show blood in the superheroes.
So
they might have a scratch or something, but they don't show it like that.
So my story of that episode is my wife, she'd been gone to work or whatever, and I was watching the episode and she came home, and that's the scene she walked in on, and she was like, what is happening? So I like tried to kind of explain it because I made her watch all of them because like it is such a part of my life that I've just made her, and like randomly she'll be like, hey, let's watch a Marvel film. I'm like, you're amazing.
That's funny because me and my girlfriend, I'm like, I watch the shows that I like when she's at work, and then when she comes home, then we have our set of shows that we watch together. And
see, my wife doesn't watch much television in general, and so generally if we're gonna watch something, I've usually pre-screened it. Like I've used like that Schitt's Creek. I watched it and I was like, I think it's worth the investment. I watched the first season of The Crown, and I was like, I think you're gonna love this show. I love that show, so we watched it. And now it's one of the shows that we kind of watch together. But yeah, trying to explain that moment to her, like,
crazy.
Like,
I think DC took over this episode. Like it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think that was.
I was really surprised.
So they're coming out with Loki.
Can't wait.
I think even like tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
I think it's the 11th.
Maybe it's the 11th.
I just got Disney Plus. I like to wait till the series is all out and then I'll watch all of it.
Yeah.
In like 2 days. But yeah, I just got Disney Plus right when Falcon and Winter Soldier ended, so I could watch them all. And then I don't really watch Disney Plus ever.
Yeah,
it's just not my thing.
Okay, June 9th. Yeah.
So I'm hoping Loki's soon.
It's pretty soon. It's like,
it says June 9th.
Cool.
Yeah, so a week from now, or 8 days from now.
Cannot wait.
I'm so excited. Like Mandalorian, like it's the best Star Wars has ever been. Awesome. Like I don't know how they keep screwing the movies up so much, but man,
they don't let Jon Favreau take them over. That's why. That guy just understands it.
He gets it.
Gets it.
It's the same with Paul Feige for Marvel. Like he just
get it.
He understands what it is. I wish DC
would pulled
find
James Gunn and he did a terrible
after Nolan, man, it's just trash.
And like they're living so much on Nolan's legacy that it's just not.
Yeah.
Like they have random ones that are good. Like the first Wonder Woman was fine.
But here's the thing with the Wonder Woman, it was all right. It was
the sequel was terrible.
But everybody went freaking crazy for it.
Well, because we wanted DC to be good.
I'm like,
we really do.
Good. It was almost like Guardians of the Galaxy when it came out, the first one. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's the best Marvel movie or superhero movie ever made." I'm like, I think you need to go watch the Dark Knight trilogy again.
Yeah.
Because nowhere near.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, Dark Knight's the gold standard. Probably always will be. But like, I love Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite.
That's like I watch it.
Favorite.
Yeah, I watch it all the time. Just
I like.
don't-
It's so good.
I think at the toss up for me, Civil War in that one. I think because Civil War is when you first saw
Winter Soldier.
when you saw Spider-Man come in. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
holy
I
shit!
didn't like I just didn't like them beating each other up, and like when they got Iron Man, they were beating the crap out. Like I hated all that stuff. I thought Winter Soldier was amazing.
But
Dude,
yeah.
that scene when Samuel
Yeah.
Jackson's in the street and they're
Oh
shooting,
yeah.
holy
I-
crap!
Oh, that's
what
a good scene, yeah.
What an amazing scene!
Well, and when
Yeah.
he catches the shield, when Cap throws it at, like,
Oh, yeah.
just
That was just a great movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, I am a sucker for.
I think my third is probably Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock.
Yeah.
That's a great
It's
superhero movie
been
too.
probably 15
Yeah,
years
you need
since
to
I've
revisit that one.
seen.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. I mean, I like. Yeah, I like that one more than, of course, the third one or
No, the third
even
one was,
See, I never even saw the third one because I don't remember liking. So I watched the first one. I was like, oh, okay. And then the second one,
I didn't like Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane. I
I-
didn't like that.
the second
I
one,
thought
I
she was
just
great.
didn't like. And again,
The
this is
third
15
one
years
wasn't
ago, and so I just never. And what's super sad. This is one of the saddest stories of my life. Venom is my favorite comic book character ever,
Then don't watch 3.
and nobody can get him right.
No.
Right.
They
Actually, I liked the movie Venom. I just wish they had made it rated R and
Yeah.
shown.
So my
blood and
biggest
violence
problem
and stuff.
with Venom was the basis of Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock is a total dick. He's the worst of the worst human beings, but Tom Hardy's version of Eddie Brock
different,
is total. And Venom is not a hero.
But they
He's an
had
anti-hero.
they had the Eddie Brock character, I think, right in Spider-Man 3.
Again, never saw it, so
But they
not
didn't.
sure.
They didn't develop him at
Yeah.
all.
Well, because
Like,
they had too many enemies
had-
in that movie.
that movie was more about Sandman, and I'm like, it's
Who cares?
Sandman.
Yeah.
Like, who cares about Sandman? Like, why didn't they bring in Hobgoblin or Rhino or the Lizard
Yeah.
or somebody else? Like,
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
the Sandman character was just boring, and most of the movie was about Sandman. And then they were kind of like in the last 15 minutes, oh, let's throw Venom in there, you know? They
Well,
didn't
he
develop-
deserves his own.
They developed Eddie Brock because he was a dick. Like he was stealing Peter Parker's photos and like
Yeah.
just doing all this stuff to
yeah.
sabotage him. They got that right, but then the Venom character was just like,
Yeah, it was terrible.
what? Why
There
did they just
are
do this?
parts in the Venom movie of Venom himself that I was like, okay, like I can see kind of, but like just the whole characteristic of him and how much he fought Venom.
Mhm.
I'm like, you're totally off base for what Eddie Brock. Like, again, bad character that can turn good, but that Venom is an anti-hero at his best. Like right now in the comics, from my understanding, I haven't read recently, he's actually like a full-blown hero. That's not interesting to me.
Right.
Anti-heroes are kind of so.
That's why we all love Deadpool.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
Same difference.
the scene with him when he has the baby legs and
Oh my
Well,
God. And a baby arm. Like, oh my God, that was so funny. I was when I saw that in the theater, man. I was laughing. Like I think the people were getting mad at me because I was laughing.
it was
Like,
just it was
one of
so
those where I couldn't
uncomfortable,
stop
but
laughing.
and Ryan Reynolds, I mean,
Oh yeah.
He's like
born
perfect for
to
that.
play him.
Yeah, he was perfect for that role.
Uh,
They totally screwed that up in the X-Men Origins.
Oh yeah. Like, why would you? Nah.
Like-
I mean, why?
it was really
terrible.
bad.
Like, well,
a lot of those offshoot X-Men movies I never saw either because you hear like, oh, it was terrible. I'm like, I'm just not even gonna.
Actually, some of them were. I thought X-Men First Class was really good.
I did see that one, and so I kind of followed like the Days of Future Past and then Apocalypse
Days
or
of
whatever
Future
they call it,
Past
and
was
those
alright.
were terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
did you watch New
Phoenix-
Mutants? Did you watch New Mutants?
I didn't see because I heard it was so bad that I just kind of sidestepped it.
Just watch Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Like that.
That
It was
was
literally the same movie.
Oh,
It's just they had X-Men. people,
I
so
hate when I
Freddy
go into
Krueger.
something with such high expectations and then
Yeah,
it just.
sucks.
But then you get pleasantly surprised. Like, so some of my favorite movies were Lord of the Rings. I had read those books a little bit before the movies came out, and I loved them. And then seeing what Peter Jackson did to the Lord of the Ring, I was just blown away. Like,
Yeah.
my gosh, this is now the Hobbit's a totally different story,
I haven't even
but
seen them. I just watched the trilogy. That was it. I haven't watched any of the Hobbit.
the
movies.
Hobbits are horrible. I read George R. R. Martin's of Song of Ice and Fire before the show ever come out, and so like seeing, especially the first few seasons, now season 7 and 8 are whatever, but they'd also run out of book material at that point.
Yeah.
So
Whenever I think of George R. R. Martin, I think about the scenes in South Park. Every time I think of like those movies, I'm just like, oh, South Park.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
But you know, I loved that show up to the end of season 6, like because I had read it and then I saw it on screen. I was like, holy crap! The things that I was imagining are either the same way or different, or whatever. And then you have things like Ready Player One, where I was so excited.
Yeah.
And
That movie
I'm
was
not
just
a
for
gamer.
nostalgia purpose.
Yeah.
It was
well,
just
the book is too, but the book had its own like flavor to it, and to see like they just changed so much in the movie from what the book had. It's like it was very, I don't want to say grounded, but grounded to itself. It knew what it was saying. The movie just felt like like a nostalgic plunge, and like it's not what the book's really about.
yeah, it was just fan service.
Yeah.
Pretty much all it was.
Yeah,
was just like,
it just-
hey, we got Freddy doing a little cameo.
And so
and Chucky in
I've
there.
read the second book. It's not as good as the first one, but I'm terrified if they make a second movie. Like, what are they gonna do to it?
I don't know. That's just
You guys are into all the deep stuff. I'm like, I can't wait till Jenny and Georgia season 2 comes out.
Well, I mean, yeah, we like
That was actually a good show.
storylines. We like artsy. I like
So,
artsy.
like, if you want to hook me on something, throw time travel in it. Like that.
See, I
He hates time travel.
I'm like, here's the thing with me. I'm very simple. Like, I'm just like, spoon feed me the story. And if I gotta like think like Inception,
Oh, so yeah.
I can't even like.
I
it went
recommend
so
movies.
far over my head that I'm just like.
I recommend movies
I
on
hate this movie.
our 10 movies you've never heard of, and he's
all into like the artsy stuff. And
Yeah,
I'm just kinda like,
that's generally what
here's
I.
a horror movie.
here's someone just stabbing somebody in the eye.
So,
Like,
so have
there
you
go.
seen Predestination?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. That one, Predestination's got Ethan Hawke in it.
I'm gonna write that one down.
Man, you watch that one, and a friend of mine said she guessed the ending, but I just was like, "What?
Yeah.
What are you?" But yeah, I want to come out of a movie, especially of time travel, going, okay,
Like that's when I stopped watching Flash. Was when they started the Earth
Flashpoint?
1 and Earth 2. And I was just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all right. I gotta keep this straight.
so there's a
I'm
show.
out.
So there's a show called Dark, which is a German show. It's on Netflix.
I started watching it.
It.
I think I watched 2 episodes and I was just
So you have, for
no
me,
idea
you
what's
got to give it to
happening.
episode 4 at least, because but like by the end of it, like I like being confused in time travel, and even that one I was like, what universe / timeline / alternate universe?
Right.
But I loved it. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But man, it wraps your brain.
When it
into
comes
a
to
noodle.
time travel, I'll go as far as like Back to the Future. Like that's pretty much.
See, yeah, Chris likes to be
My
spoon fed
speed.
everything. Like he watches the show. Like, what are you talking about? Well, you're not going to find out about that till episode 5.
Yeah.
So he just was like, what happened?
I can't deal with the deep subject matter and like all the artsy stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
see, that's the stuff. That's what gets me going.
Yeah,
That's
it gets the cognitive
yeah.
juices flowing. It's just like, oh
I'm a
wait.
simple man. That's it.
Like, did you notice that thing in the background? How it did that thing? You
Yeah.
know? Like, Chris is like, what?
My youngest son is like he like when he watches a movie, he sees everything in it. Like I'm like,
Mhm.
what?
What?
How do you even see that or know that? Like in we saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I watched it the first time and left the theater like pissed off.
See, I really liked it.
Have you seen it?
No.
Oh yeah.
See, I liked it.
So, and then I took him to see it because I'm kind of introducing him to Tarantino and stuff. And we went and saw it. I saw it again the second time, and he saw something in the movie like right at the beginning that was a foreshadowing for something that happens later. And he was like, "Oh, look at that!" And I'm like,
What?
"How did you even see that?" Like it was just like
Yeah,
tucked in the corner of a shed, and he picked it out. And when I'll sometimes I'll look at him when he's watching the movie and his eyes are like going all over.
He's gathering all the
screen,
information.
Like it's almost like. Doo, 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 doo.
It's like
I-
Easter eggs. It's like
Yeah.
Easter eggs.
Well, I do. Going all the way back to like the filmmaking career, like I do that. Like,
Well, I think you look at movies differently when
Yeah.
you're a cinematographer, a director, or something. You see things differently.
Yeah.
Than just the normal average moviegoer. Because I feel like I've watched movies differently than I used to because
which is one.
before it was
I mean,
just entertainment. Now it's like, oh.
yeah. Well,
wow, that's
honestly,
cool.
one reason that's why I play video games is because, like, this is my job is to make commercials and movies.
Mhm.
And I'm always critiquing. I'm always not, and honestly, maybe it's one reason that I've veered more towards TV series is because I feel like I don't do it as much. But if I'm watching a movie, because it's a very contained thing, like I'm kind of like picking apart every little thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like in TV shows, like I kind of let a little bit more go because I'm like, oh, in the end, there could be more of a payoff. And that's also why I play video games because I don't know how to make a video game. So like that's my
Your release.
that's what I
get out
dive
of your-
into. Yeah.
Get out of yourself.
Oh yeah, it's a relaxed time for me sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I just play the horror games like Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th.
See, I play battle royales because like
Okay.
you go in, you play for 20, 30 minutes, you win, you lose, you get frustrated. You're like, okay, I'm going to bed. Like,
See, whenever I play anything like that, it's like I just get angry if I die. Then I'm just like, I gotta do that, and then I get like anxiety all night long.
Actually, I can tell you the moment I stopped playing video games. I used to play with my son, and we played Ultimate Alliance, and we loved that game. Right?
Mhm.
It was such an awesome game. And
What-
then Ultimate Alliance 2 came out. We were like, what? So we went right when it came out. Get Ultimate Alliance 2. We're playing, and there's a scene where you have there's a scene. There's a point where you got to beat Captain America and Iron Man, and we could not get past that level. Like we tried and tried for hours and hours. We couldn't get. I was like, you know what? I don't
I'm done.
need this in my life. I put the controller down and never picked it back up, and that was the end of it.
quit.
I can tell you that's the last time I played video games.
Wow.
Well, both my kids are like huge gamers, and they play a lot. And they played online together and stuff, and I just have no interest.
Well, it was also like, going to the pandemic and how it affected me. Like, I didn't work, and so I was just at home with my kids, and I was like, I need something to do.
Right.
So they would go. I'd wait till they go to bed, and then I'll look at my wife and be like, I'm going to play, like, to talk to my friends, to experience something outside of like the chaos that comes with a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh yeah. Sometimes, like I said, we need that sometimes just to get away.
That's literally why we made 2 movies. Was like we had nothing
Yeah.
to do, and I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah. See, I like with video games, you can just put it down. And, movies, you're like
This is my
festering all
life.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, festering all night. Like maybe I should have shot it like this, or what if I did it like that? Like it's a little bit different.
And now I'm in a situation now where I'm like, Sean's like trying to finish school, and I'm wanting to do something. I'm wanting to shoot another movie, and I was trying to get a movie. We had a movie called The Cheerleader Sleepover Slaughter that I was trying to get going, and it got so like I've never had a problem putting movies together. Like we just find locations, find casts, and then we do it. And this one, for some reason, I had so much trouble with cast and one of the locations. I couldn't find it, and it was consuming me. And I was just like, my girlfriend was like, you need to like take a step back because what is wrong with you? And I was like snapping at everybody. I was just, it was really upsetting me. So I just kind of was like, you know what? I don't think we're going to do this one. And now I'm stuck.
Not right now,
with
at least.
nothing to do.
Well, I think every week, like we would come and do the show, and he would have just some frustration to say with the fucking movie.
I had
Every week.
You're gonna love this. I had agent. I offered 2 people a role, like a lead role, and their agents told them not to take the role. And I'm like, isn't your agent supposed to get you work?
Like,
not
or at least
talk
help
out
you?
of getting work. And we talk about this all the time. My feeling is, if you're an actor trying to make it, you should take every role, every one of them.
Yeah, get as
Doesn't
much out
matter
there as you can.
how much budget it is or whatever. Because when somebody looks at a resume, like if I'm looking for a named talent for a movie and I'm looking at their resume, I'm not gonna go and like pick every single movie and see it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. They want
who
to see
does
your.
that?
They want to see
They
your
want to see
experience.
that you've done stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in order to get that experience and get better and learn how to work with different types of directors and different sets, like you need to do that.
Yeah.
And
We got to
they
build
don't-
that reel up.
They don't understand it. And these were two girls from Orlando, and we have like a core of people that we just always work
Yeah,
with, and
you
I was
just-
trying to get some fresh faces and different talent, and what a nightmare, man.
This is one reason I don't produce
It was
or
a
direct,
nightmare.
because those things, I don't like doing those things, and they can be frustrating. And my job's already frustrating enough. Like, I don't want more stress and more, like, are there stories that I personally want to tell? Yeah. Quiet Place took one of them. So I had this whole, I mean, it was laid out like it's a story. Guy wakes up in the middle of the field. He goes to this house. You can tell nobody's been there for a long time, but everything's still perfect. He's getting food. His little alarm goes off. He runs away. And like, it was this whole idea of like aliens moving through sound, but like part of the movie was just you couldn't see them, so that was like the tension. And I saw Quiet Place in theaters, and I was like, God,
Krasinski! Krasinski!
That's happened to me.
Well,
before.
same thing like Sixth Sense too. Like you didn't know what the
Mhm.
hell. Then you saw the other, was like, oh. Like,
When I was
oh.
younger, I was really into like the urban legends and stuff, like all the weird ones.
Oh yeah.
And I was at a party, a 4th of July party, and my buddies down the street were all talking. And I was like, man, you know what? I think they should make a movie about like get all the urban legends and put them together, like, and to make a movie about it. And he was like, man, that's a really cool idea. And then like literally like 6 months later, Urban Legends is coming out. I'm like, oh my God, they stole my idea.
Yeah.
And I was going to do the one where the guy's hanging above the car and his feet are scraping the
They
car.
did
you
that
know?
one.
And it was in there.
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
And was it Rebecca Gayheart?
Rebecca Gayheart.
She was so
She was
hot
a
back
killer.
in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. Spoiler.
She kind of fell off.
Spoiler.
If you haven't seen Urban Legend by now, then
Yeah.
I think it's on TV like every day on my.
don't bother. Do you ever write?
I get the, to use a Tennessee word, I get the hankering every now and then. And I do most of my stuff is people, usually a singular person dealing with, I don't want to say demons, but like silence, aloneness. Because generally my scripts are one person. They might run into a couple people, but it's generally about a journey. Sometimes with them being chased. Sometimes most of my stuff is dark, but like psychologically dark.
Right.
And it takes a lot out of me to write stuff like that. So I generally shy away from it unless I just have something in my head that's just like just pushes. And most of my stuff is very slow.
Do you find it hard to write?
I find it hard to sit down to write.
I have no problem with that.
Because you have all the time in the
I'm
world.
Good at, I'm good at like getting stuff on paper, like ideas on paper, and then I give it to someone else that knows how. Like Crazy, like I wrote Crazy like in like 30 days, the whole script, and I gave it to Jason, and Jason, you know, obviously Jason's a way better writer than me. Jason kind of went through and gutted the script and changed a lot of the dialogue and some of the scenes and stuff, and made it into Crazy League. But I've never had a problem just sitting and writing. But I'm not good at creating dialogue and scenes that aren't like, you know, obviously you have your scenes that really push the story forward, and then you have like your fluff scenes that are there to take up time, basically.
Yeah.
I have a hard time writing the fluff scenes that aren't really like impactful for the story. Like I can get all the impactful stuff down. It's all the filler that that you need
to build up the clock.
Yeah. So I can write a feature, but I'm like, shit, I only have like 40 pages.
I mean, one of my favorite / unique films is the Robert Redford film called All Is Lost. The whole thing was an 8-page script that ended up being, a feature-length film, and it's him.
Right.
Like,
I'm sure Castaway was the same.
A lot of it was, but like All Was Lost, like I could see myself writing that
Something like that
type of film where he's just overcoming obstacle after
So
obstacle.
you're good at like sitting down and writing 8 pages. And you're saying,
Yeah. And it's super descriptive. Like you see everything, but but in all his loss, he never says a word.
Yeah,
That's the
crazy.
type of character, and I think, or you might say like one or two things, but um, I also think a lot of that is attributed to I'm an introvert, but my dad is like such a big influence on my life, obviously, and I love my dad dearly. My dad's a very silent kind of like as he's gotten older, he's gotten a little bit more talkative. But
like the strong silent type.
yeah, the strong silent type, working with his hands all the time, working super hard, leaving the house, at 6 a.m., coming home at 7 o'clock, but then taking us right to baseball practice and like that character.
No nonsense.
Yeah, is such a big
Black and white.
influence. Yeah, so when I'm writing characters, like that's the first thing that comes out of my head. Most of my characters are named David, which is my dad's name, and I don't even know if I do that consciously. It's just when I think about my hero and the person I want to model this story after, my dad's usually the archetype that comes to mind.
That's nice.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Well, and it's one of those things. Like I'm very fortunate. My parents are still married. They have been for almost 40 years now. They've always been
rare.
super supportive of
nowadays.
me. I grew up in a very loving home. I didn't have any horrible things happen. The worst thing that I can think of that's ever happened to me is my granddad died, who was also, but like, he was 75 years old. Like, it was going to happen at some point as well. So, like, I just grew up with a very solid foundation, which has helped me later on in life. But in terms of writing, like, I have very few like hard experiences to draw off of,
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not complaining like at all. I very much enjoy.
He wants more shit to happen to him.
I very much enjoy my life.
That goes back to the beginning of this conversation was the support system.
Yeah,
my
it's
dad's
huge.
always been there. Like if I need he's in real estate, so he knows like everybody in town.
Mm-hmm.
And if I ever need a location, I call. He's the first call.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, I need a place where we can make a pawn shop. He's like, oh, I got a place, yeah. And then we're shooting there. And he's always been like that since the very first movie I ever made. He was always
The people
helping me
that
find locations.
believe in you before you ever even really knew what a you was, but like before you knew kind of who you were. People that were like, yeah, you can do this thing. Like growing up, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I probably was never going to make it, but my parents always said I could.
Right.
Until I decided I couldn't.
And that's you got little kids now. My kids are older, but I've always told them, I'm like, look, figure out something that you love. It doesn't matter what it is, and figure out how you make money doing it, and you'll never work. And they've both done that. Like my son just graduated from UCF, my older one, with an animation degree. He wants to be like
Nice.
3D modeling and animating and stuff like that. And I actually had him an internship at Diamond View, and they stopped their internship program till the fall. So it was kind of like, so now he's in Orlando still, and he's kind of just like trying to figure out what to do now. And so that kind of sucked because I was like, dude, you're gonna get in with the new technology, with the LED wall and all that. And I know Jeff McCown that works there. I've known him since I'm like 7 years old, and so he was gonna get him in, and then it fell apart.
Yeah.
So we're hoping.
Yeah.
And then my other son just figured out that he loves like forensics and like crime scene investigation. So he's starting school in August to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But it's just all you can do with your kids is just teach them and give them your knowledge that you've already done and let them figure it out.
For us, I'm already in the art world. So my daughter sees that. And then my wife has now struck out on her own, is doing her own business. And so for my daughter to see that, to see two people, most influential, doing what they want to do, I think is so huge. And
It is huge.
But right now, she wants to be. She says she wants to be an art teacher. That's great. Like if that's what she wants to do, then
do it.
Then do it.
And that's the thing. I've always encouraged my kids, like, that's awesome. Try it. My son was like, my oldest one is like, hey, he started off when he was going to middle school. He was like, I'm going to try out for the orchestra. And I'm like, you don't even know how to play anything. You've never picked up an instrument in your life. And he started playing cello, and then by the time he went there for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and by the time he was in 7th grade, he was second chair, and then first chair when he was in 7th grade. And then he's like, well, I'm going to Steinbrenner. I'm going to try out for the band, and I'm going to play drums. And I'm like, you don't know how to play drums. Junior year, drum captain. Like he's always been like that type of person. Like, and then he goes to college and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna referee intramurals. And I'm like, what? Referee of the year. He got an award for intramural referee of the year. I'm just like, that's my kid. Like he just has always been like that. He'll put something in his head and he bust his ass to accomplish it.
But that's to make you proud as a dad.
It's awesome. And that's the thing is like, I know that kid. I don't ever have to worry about him. Like he's gonna do it himself and he's gonna be the best at whatever he does. And that's what I haven't had a chance to talk to Jeff about at Diamond View. I feel like telling him, look, if you give him an opportunity, he'll probably end up being your best animator that you have, type of thing, because I just know him and I know how his mind operates, and he'll do whatever it takes and work his ass off to get to where he needs to be or where he wants to be. And my other son, he needs some guidance and pushing. I think we got him on the track. But he took a year off. He graduated last year. He took the year off. He's working like little crap jobs. And I'm like, look, work all these little shit jobs because that's all you're going to get without an education. So, he worked in a grocery store, a pizza place, and he's like, I was looking through all these jobs, and he's like, I don't want to do any of these. I'm like,
okay,
right,
now we know.
So I kept pushing. I'm like, dude, just even if you don't want to go to a 4-year college, just go to a tech school or take a course or something that's going to help you and figure out what I said. Go home, write down everything you're interested in. So he did that, and a couple of days later, he was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to school. I want to do this. And I'm like, awesome. Cool. My work is done here.
Fathering.
But that's the thing with kids, man, is you can give them all the advice you want, but they're going to have to make the decision themselves. And
I mean, I didn't know what I want to do until I was 23. I
still don't know what I'm doing. I'm 51 years old. I don't know what I want to do in my life.
I didn't know what I wanted to do until I was 23. My sister, who's 3 years younger than me, she knew she wanted to be a school teacher and a mom when she was like 5 years old.
Right.
My brother didn't know, and he's 10 years younger than me, so it was kind of weird seeing but then about 23, 24, he figured out what he wanted to do, and now my other sister, who's 16 years younger than me, she's kind of figuring out what she wants to do now. She's 20 or 21. So like seeing now her, because like they say you're supposed to know when you're like 18 and go to college what you're supposed to do, and I'm like, that is bull crap.
All these people, they graduate college and they're just like, I hate what I freaking
Well, they just want your money. They just want you to go to school, pay the school, and then you're gonna switch it up and then pay more money to go another 3 years.
That's what my son did. He went to UCF as engineering. He wanted to do robotic arms and stuff. And,
which is cool.
So I was like, awesome, do it. And then, like, after the second year, he was like, you know what? I can't do all the math and chemistry. I can't do it. And I think I will enjoy this better doing animation. And when he said animation, I was like, he wants to make fucking cartoons? Like, is that what he wants to do? But he's like really into comic. Like, he works at a comic book store up there, and he's like really into comics. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, maybe he'll be, start making his own comic books or something. Which, all right, whatever. But then I started realizing what he was wanting to do. He was wanting to take that engineering and the animation and kind of mix it together and design robotic arms with 3D animation and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, that's probably a pretty competitive field, but I know my kid, and I'm sure he'll succeed.
If it's competitive, like kind of all the better, really. When you come down to it, getting into this, I was a little scared, but I found my way and doing what I can. I make a living. That's all I want. I don't we were talking. I love superhero stuff. I don't ever want to shoot a superhero film. Like, that just seems.
But you did.
Well, sort of. I shot a very low budget superhero film.
It was actually cool. It was
there are other things that I watched, like The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which I love as a show.
See, I tried getting into that. I watched like 6 episodes, and I was just like,
If someone said, "Hey, we want to make this show," like, but you to
I
DP it,
loved
I'd be like, "I'm in."
Right. I loved the style of it and the characters, but there was just something that was missing with me. I don't know. So I gave up on it.
Yeah, my wife and I love. There's shows like that are, and so I've just realized that like I love they're not visual spectacular. They're super character based, character driven, and the cinematography is a part of it. It's not
Great.
It's not the driving force. Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping to like. I want to shoot a Netflix show, but I want to shoot one of the lower, not lower end ones, but the ones that are not quite as much pressure as trying to live up to like Jupiter's Legacy. Like that was a tent pole for them. I don't want to shoot that.
You don't think you could shoot something on like a super high level?
I think
like,
I could,
knowing
but
you and knowing and seeing what you've done, I feel like you can.
It's one of those like, could I? Yes. Is my heart really into something like that?
Do you feel like you could shoot like a green screen, like a Marvel movie, like on green screen, the whole thing?
I think I could at some point. Like, so if someone came to me,
you at all?
it doesn't really appeal to me. So, but like if someone came,
it's cheating.
Kind
of like that's. I think the cinematography on that is just
you're
shooting people, and then everybody else behind the scenes takes care of everything else.
It's one of those like if someone came to me and said, "Here's Venom," because again I love Venom, that's a different. But I would want Venom to be darker, grittier.
I wish they had made that rated R and just did it the right way.
Yeah,
like they did Deadpool. Like Deadpool was like spot on. Like it was so awesome.
Yeah, like
because
doing
some rated R and you can do whatever you want.
Like, hey, Brandon, we're rebooting Venom. How would you do it? I'm going like Gangs of New York, like that type of brutality. A lot of handheld. Like, I don't need superhero stuff with Venom. Like, I want to get to the heart of what makes Venom / Eddie or whichever version they're telling. I want to be grounded on that. Right. And then Venom is, Venom, the symbiote, Venom, the anti-hero, Venom, the hero, whatever, is a component of that. But I care about the character. That's what I enjoy telling. Those are the movies, like when it really comes down to it, those are the movies that I just enjoy watching and shows that I enjoy watching. Like they have all these cool things around them, space and time travel, but really, like, Looper is a time travel film, but I don't care for that film because I don't care for that character. But I like Rian Johnson because I really liked Knives Out. I liked what was the first one he did? Cool. Brick.
Brick was good.
Yeah, so I don't not like it. It's just again it's character based, character driven, with all these kind of little things around it that I really enjoy, and those are the stories that I want to. So like if someone said, "Hey, we're doing The Matrix," but that movie, one of the reasons I like it is because you get to know Thomas Anderson, Neo, super well in who he is before, and then you see his rise to being Neo. But it's a sci-fi setting, but it's all about him. That's the stuff that really gets me excited.
Very cool.
Yeah. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Killer Collab Podcast. Once again, I was joined with Brendan Hyde on this episode. As always, what are you laughing at, Chris?
It's like your weird voice.
My radio voice?
Your radio voice.
You don't like my radio voice? So obviously that's Chris Lato behind me. And, as always, my name is Tone Devil Florida, Tony D. Thank you for joining us on Killer Collab Podcast. Have a wonderful day. Stay happy, stay healthy, get vaccinated. We're almost there.